Hi, I'm Ziggy from Look 10 Years Younger, and I've saved you a whole bunch of time by testing 10 different beauty sponges to see which one gives you the better finish, which one cleans the best, which one's easiest to hold, gives the best application, all of that kind of stuff. 10 different beauty sponges. Which one do you think is the best? Stay tuned and I'll tell you all about it. Hi, I'm Ziggy from Look 10 Years Younger, and I'm here to share with you the results of my great beauty sponge comparison test, where I tested a whole bunch of sponges to see which ones were best, what's worth your money, what's actually not worth your money, and really interesting to find out whether the higher priced beauty sponges performed better than the drugstore cheaper versions. In my experience with testing all of these beauty sponges, I tended to find that the firmer ones didn't actually perform as well as the softer ones. That doesn't necessarily mean that the drugstore ones were the worst or indeed the best, but it really did seem to be that the firm ones were not quite as good as the softer ones. So let's get into it, and I'll start with the ones that didn't perform as well, and I'll gradually work my way up to the ones that were really good performers. Okay, number one on the list and the worst performer was the Natio Complexion Perfection Foundation Sponge. Now this little pink sponge is a latex sponge, costs $5.95. You can get it from Myers, DJ's, any other store like that. It's actually really quite firm, and it doesn't bounce on the skin very well. It's an absolute awful sponge to wash in my experience. Doesn't get clean very easily. It just gives a really patchy, uneven finish. It's actually a really nice shape in its flavour, but overall, out of all of them, this actually rated the lowest in my experience. Number two and number three on the list of what was good and what was not quite so good in terms of beauty sponges, and this time it's the Chi Chi sponge that you can get from Target for $4.95. Now I tested two here. I tested the yellow traditional one with, what does it call itself, with a slanted flat top, and I also tested the pink one, which is just a normal egg shape. Both of these are non-latex sponges, I guess they're okay if you're just after a little cheap sponge, but they didn't fare too well. I loved this shape better than the pink one. This is really good for big areas across the cheeks, across the forehead, and also the pointed bit's really good for under the eyes and around the nose. However, aside from the shape, it's actually not really very bouncy. It's a little bit firm. It cleans really, really well. It's really good in terms of when you want to wash it and get rid of all of the foundation off it. That was really, really good. But the finish that it gives is actually rather patchy. It's not really smooth, doesn't give a photo finish at all. Would I buy it again? Probably not. Number four, we're getting towards the better ones. And this one is the Mecca Cosmetica Artistry Sponge. It sells for $16 from Mecca Cosmetica stores. It comes in this shape here with a little metal ring, which is supposedly on there to help you hold it. I actually took the ring off because it was a complete waste of time. This is a really firm sponge, and I had really high hopes for this one, given that it was $16 or $16.95, no, $16 from Mecca Cosmetica. So I was thinking that given I'd spent $16, I was hoping this one was going to be really good. Not so much. I certainly wouldn't buy it again. In my experience, it's incredibly firm. Really, really firm, so bouncing it off the face, it just gives a really patchy finish. I actually don't particularly like the shape of this one either, with the ring around here where the metal ring sat. This was really good, this bottom side as usual for the bigger areas across the face, and this conical end as normal was really good for under the eyes and around the mouth, around the nose rather, but it's just a bit of a silly shape, and the metal ring that comes with it is a complete waste of time. When you're washing it, if you buy this one, take the metal ring off, because that will just discolor your sponge and won't help at all. It doesn't swell very much when you dampen it, and it continues to stay really firm. In terms of cleansing, really quite a difficult sponge to clean, and this one's still got stains at the top that you just can't get out with liquid soap or Specialist Beauty Blender soap or whatever. Would I buy it again? No. Number 5 in the Great Beauty Sponge comparison test, and this time it was the Manicare Flawless Complexion Sponge. $5.95 from Priceline and other chemists. Now, I gave this one a really good going. I tested it a couple of times actually, because the first time I tested it I wasn't sure whether it was hot or whether it was a crock. I couldn't make my mind up one way or the other, so I actually tested this one a few times. Now, this is a non-latex sponge, and it's really quite bouncy. Really good shape again, with that square cut off section off the edge, which is actually quite good for larger sections, as is the bottom bit. But in terms of trying to go in the delicate areas under your eyes or around your nose, not having a pointed area actually made it a little bit more difficult to use. In terms of its finish on the skin, it's actually quite smooth, and I kind of rated it pretty much smack bang in the middle between the not so good, the crocks, and the pretty damn good, the hots. So this one sits right in the middle. So in terms of cleaning, this one cleaned really well. Pretty easy to get out all of the foundation. Would I buy it again? Maybe. Okay, we're up to number 6 now, so we're heading up towards the ones that I kind of felt really good about. This one is the True Essentials Cosmetic Blending Sponge. Now, this one is $5.95, and you can get it from various chemists, DJs, so on and so forth. Like the Manicare one, I actually gave this one a couple of serious good workouts, because I couldn't quite work out whether I liked it or not. I'm actually going to suggest to you that this would be a very cheap dupe for the Mecca Cosmetica Artistry Sponge. It's exactly the same shape without that very annoying metal ring that's on the Mecca Cosmetica one. Very similar texture and feel to it, really quite smooth. Now this one, because it's fairly firm again like that Mecca Cosmetica one, it's actually when it bounces off your face, it does tend to leave perhaps a slightly patchy finish, but it's not too bad. I quite like the shape for getting under the eyes and around the nose and so on again. Would I buy it again though? Maybe not. So we're at the pointy end now of the Great Beauty Sponge comparison test. I'm at number 7, so I'm really heading up towards the sponges now that I actually quite enjoyed. And this time we have the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge. Now this is the brand that Pixie Woo in England recommend and support, and I actually agree with them. On this one, I would recommend and support this one. Now, the Real Techniques, let me read this off for you. This Real Techniques one is $16.99 from Priceline, so you know it's mid-price. It's, you know, it's beginning to be a bit of an investment here. It's non-latex. It's beautifully soft, really soft. Again, I don't like this cut-off shape here. While that's really good for the bigger areas, the pointy, the edge of it I found a little bit annoying, and it can leave marks. So you need to be really careful when you're using it and bouncing it, that you don't bounce it too hard, because you'll end up with hard lines. I really did love that pointy bit though for getting in around the nose and under the eyes. I really quite liked the finish on this, notwithstanding that edge there. You need to make sure, as I said before, that you're bouncing it off and not leaving a hard edge, but it gives a beautiful, a really airbrushed kind of finish. Really, really easy to hold, beautiful sponge to use. In terms of cleaning it, really easy to clean. Any foundation that was in it just came out really easily, and I found also that it didn't drink a lot of foundation. It didn't hold on to a lot of foundation as some of the more firmer sponges did. Would I buy it again? Yeah, probably. Okay, so we're at number 8 now, so we really are up at the end that I quite liked, and this one is the MAC Pro Performance Sponge. Now, this is available from some MAC stores, not all MAC stores, and it is $29. So we're talking about some serious spondoolies here. This is not a cheap baby to have. On the downside, it actually, when you wet it, doesn't absorb much water, so it doesn't swell in size at all. Not sure whether that's a bad thing, but it was interesting to note. I've got to say, I'm really sorry, MAC, but in my experience, the shape of this is just awful. It's a kind of spaceship sort of shape, and while this bottom bit is okay for doing the major areas, because it's so a small rounded area, it tended to leave small patches, so you actually have to work quite hard. And while this, you would think the pointy bit would be really good for under eyes and around your nose, because it kind of splays out as a spaceship shape there, it's actually quite difficult to work with. So I think though, once you've got used to the shape, that you would really enjoy this. In terms of its finish, beautiful. Really beautiful airbrushed finish to the skin. Absolutely loved the finish on this one. Was it easy to clean? It was quite easy to clean with liquid soap and with hard soap as well. No stains left on it either. At $29, would I buy it again? Probably not, because I think that my next two were much more favourites than this one, and if anything, I'd probably go and buy a Real Techniques one for half the price that gave me just as good a finish. Not a bad thing, MAC. Would I buy it again though? Probably not. Okay, so we're heading for number 9 now, my second favourite one, and it is this one here, which is the Napoleon Perdis Pro Makeup Sponge. Now, this is $9 from Napoleon Perdis. Napoleon Perdis actually put out 2 different sponges. One of them actually has a metal ring around it, which supposedly helps you hold it. Having tried the Mecha one with the metal ring, I decided not to get the metal ring handle. Now, I have to say that on the pro side, the finish to this is utterly, utterly amazing. Love, love, love this sponge for the finish that it gives you. This large area here, really, really good for doing the large areas on your face. And this little piece here, the top piece, is really good for doing under your eyes and around your nose. However, it doesn't come to a point, and while that's a good thing that you don't get any hard lines, it can be quite difficult sometimes to get into those really small spaces. Again, I'm not quite sure that I like the shape on this one, but generally it was pretty good. What I have noticed though with this one is that even though I absolutely adored it, it breaks up quite easily. So this has been used once and washed once, and already I've got a split here and a couple of splits down here. Oh, that's a bit of a worry, I think. The other downside to this one is that because it's black, it's very difficult to see when it's dirty, I can imagine. And also cleaning it, it was quite difficult to work out whether it was fully clean or not because of its dark colour. Its finish though, love, love, love the finish that it gives on your skin. Beautiful, soft, airbrushed look on the skin. Would I buy it again? I'm not quite sure. I think that if I would hold this up against the Real Techniques one, which is slightly cheaper, I'd probably be going for that one, given that this one has split after one use. But damn beautiful sponge nonetheless. And here we are now at number 10, which makes it my most favourite beauty sponge of them all. And is it a surprise? I'm not sure, but it is the original Beauty Blender. Now, I paid $27 for the Beauty Blender, which is $2 cheaper than the dearest beauty sponge that I paid for. The dearest one was the MAC Pro sponge, which was $29. So this came in second place in terms of cost at $27. This is a non-latex sponge. It is really super duper bouncy. And I love the original egg shape because it gives you that amazing ability to either go flat this way, that way on the big parts of your face, and it's got the lovely pointed bit to go underneath the eyes and around your nose. The finish on this one is second to none. It's absolutely gorgeous. Photo finish is just beautiful, really smooth, no patchiness at all. It doesn't drink up foundation at all, you know, in terms of absorbing it and drinking it and not placing it back on the skin. It picks it up beautifully and it deposits the foundation, liquid or cream foundation, beautifully back on your skin. One of the things that I noticed with this one when I was cleaning it is that it chucks out an awful lot of dye when you put it in the water and you clean it. And that was using Beauty Blender's own solid soap and their liquid soap cleanser that they sell specifically to clean these Beauty Blenders. Really pink water, so it's chucking out a lot of that dye, and it just concerned me a little bit. Is any of that dye actually getting into my skin? Love, love, love the finish of this one. I'll probably buy some more of these. Would I use them in my professional kit? I would love to, but at that price it's pretty pricey, so I'd probably use the Real Techniques one, which is, you know, much, much cheaper, half the price of this one, with an equally good finish. I'd probably use that in my pro kit, but for me personally, I'll probably be sticking with the Beauty Blender because love it. It's really good. So there you go. That was the great beauty sponge comparison test for you, where I tested 10 different sponges to see which one was the better value, which ones worked and which ones didn't. Look, I'd really love to hear from you about which sponge works for you and your experiences with sponges. So please do me a favour and comment below and tell me which is your favourite sponge and why. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Love to have you with me. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up as well. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Until then, stay looking younger and fresher for longer. Bye from me.